The M1 Garand. Most people will want to see the M1 Garand with no custom weapon skin and iron sights, especially in a video like this that is looking to review it and explain the best ways to use it. This of course is the way the Garand should be run if you are a purist. However, I always like to create the best weapon variant possible. If this means I'm bending history to fit my loadout, well unfortunately that is just the way the game is played. At least I'm not playing as a German elite within the Japanese faction, but considering the lack of weapons we have for faction specific loadouts, it is difficult, and of course I will be chucking a 2 or 3 times scope on this weapon as well, which might not please everybody. In this video I am aiming to answer a few questions. Firstly, put simply, how good is the Garand? Secondly, what specialisations should you be using? And finally, how does it compare to the other semi-automatic rifles in the class? So starting off, how good is the Garand? At first I thought it was a good single target semi-automatic rifle, but the amount of reloading and lack of a larger clip or magazine is a drawback. Taking the historical accuracy out of the equation, as I said I would do, running a 2 or 3 times scope is the way to go in my opinion, and also a few specialisations are very powerful on this weapon, making it a lot stronger than some of its rivals in the class. I think the main one that you're going to be seeing is heavy load. Some YouTubers have also made a video identifying that as the most important specialisation. It does turn the Garand into quite a unique weapon that is capable of doing a lot of damage over range. The consistent damage that you will deal at range is a real bonus, meaning even with only 8 rounds you can smash multiple enemy players without too many problems at all. Overall I'd say it's definitely worth using. Unlock it, make sure you've got all the specialisations, rank it up to level 4. Go with heavy load. We'll go into the specialisations tree in a little bit more detail in a second, but I would say that this gun is very good. Is it the best? Probably not, but it certainly isn't the worst. It's just a good weapon to be using. So the second question, what specialisations should you run? All the talk recently has been about the rank 4 specialisation heavy load, and starting with that, let me explain what it actually does. When stock, the M1 Garand comes with 359 RPM. Applying that level 4 specialisation heavy load will drop this to 300 RPM. You will however gain additional recoil when standing, but 45 damage up to 25 meters instead of the stock 40 damage, and more importantly, your minimum damage rising to 36 per body shot means you will never drop below a 3-shot kill. With heavy load, a headshot and body shot will kill an enemy player, plus you gain the additional benefit of being able to body shot, limb shot somebody at range. This is very important, and it means you'll pick up a lot of kills that you just may have missed with the other semi-automatic rifles. Taking the right side of the specialisation tree, you can opt into quick reload and enhanced grips. Quick reload will obviously speed up the time it takes to reload, whilst enhanced grips reduce the hipfire spread. The final options are either the grenade launcher or heavy load. As we said, I prefer the heavy load, but the grenade launcher has no impact on the weapon performance as far as I'm aware, apart from that additional grenade launcher attachment. As for that right side with enhanced grips and quick reload, it's not for me. I prefer the left side, where you will gain access to custom stock and lightened stock, and that is the way I would go. So let's assume you went for quick aim with the increased ADS speed, custom stock which reduces ADS spread when moving, lightened stock which allows players to move 60% faster when aiming down sights, and heavy load which increases long range damage at the cost of rate of fire. You then have a 3-shot laser cannon that is very capable. It's good on maps like Iwo Jima where the range is something that you have to deal with, especially on breakthrough from flag to flag. I feel as if it may not be as good on closer range maps, but for me I'm always running medic anyway on closer range maps or opting to use a shotgun. I think the main thing the Garand will do is offer accurate players an absolutely insane weapon for blasting 3 enemies per magazine, and it's so consistent you'll also be picking up additional kills, as I said, with that guaranteed 3-shot kill. The final question I wanted to answer is how does the M1 Garand compare to the other semi-automatic assault rifles in the class? The M1 Garand has a fairly high bullet velocity of 780 meters per second. This matches the AG M42 before it has its high velocity bullets upgrade, however it's not quite as strong as the Model 1944 or G43, both of which also have access to that high velocity bullet specialisation. A big drawback with the M1 Garand is that magazine size. With only 8 rounds before a reload is required, this places it near the bottom of the class. Quite a few semi-automatic rifles have a 10 round magazine, whilst a few have far more. The reload itself is actually fine, and in my opinion very good, because you are provided with 8 fresh rounds each time you reload. However, from my personal playstyle approach, I do prefer a weapon with a larger magazine. That's not to say the weapon isn't good, you just need to adapt your playstyle. Moving from the Gewehr 1.5 or M1A1 to the M1 Garand is quite a jump, and not really a fair comparison because these weapons are designed for different things. But as I said before, the Garand will reward you for being accurate. The higher minimum damage is a nice feature, meaning you can guarantee yourself a 3-shot kill at range even with limb shots, and this is something no other semi-automatic rifle can do as far as I'm aware. It's very impressive, and it almost puts it in the same class as the sniper SLRs, and this is not quite something you should be comparing them to because they fire more slowly, plus they're in a different class, plus some of them will guarantee a 2-shot kill. But I would say in the assault class it does give the Garand something of maybe not a niche but a specialty, and that's something you could be looking at. So let's take a few specific weapons to compare it to. First of all, the Karabin and G43. You really need to be using the specialisations with single round reload in order to get the better ADS spread and movement accuracy with these weapons. This then gives those both long reloads, and that's where the Garand becomes a more practical weapon in my opinion. Going for the detachable magazine specialisation is a good choice with the G43, but you then lose that accuracy when aiming down sight and moving. As most people do like to ADS and move with these weapons, that's a specialisation that you'd want, so custom stock and lightened stock are a must, meaning that the Garand does have an edge in terms of its specialisation tree. Many people also compare the Garand to the Turner. The Turner is always a 4-shot at range, but that detachable magazine alongside the lightened and custom stock is quite a good tree. The only issue is that at a maximum you can kill 2 enemies at range before reloading, plus you can't afford to miss any shots with that Turner. Yes, the recoil's fine, but the Garand just does a better job all round in my opinion. As for one of my favourite weapons in the game, the AG M42, this is a guaranteed 4-shot kill, and the insane damage output with a 449 RPM and basically no recoil means you can chain headshots and just destroy enemies. It's easy to rack up a high damage output as well, even though you don't have a massive magazine, and simply the RPM, the bullet velocity of 880 meters per second with those high velocity bullets, and then the lack of any real recoil or spread with this weapon as far as I'm aware means it's just a great option. The Garand will work past the effective range of the AG M42 though, giving you a few weapons that you can choose from. So just to wrap this video up, a little bit of a summary. Overall, it's a good performing weapon if you can consistently hit the target, and that's the case with many weapons in Battlefield 5. It is demanding, but entirely possible. I like to pair this weapon with any of the launchers. Recently the Fliegerfaust has been all the rage, but the Piat also provides a nice option for pushing close quarters choke points. If you're in a squad with a couple of medics and maybe 2 assault players, one taking the Fliegerfaust is a must just to deter planes, the other guy can maybe take a Piat, Panzerfaust, it doesn't really matter. Hopefully DICE do introduce the bazooka at some point so we can have a loadout that does represent the faction we're fighting for, but there we go. Dynamite is also a great way of breaching enemy defences and pretty much vital on Breakthrough Iwo Jima if you are defending in the caves or maybe looking to blast through trenches or take down tanks. I'd also say for a sidearm that you should go authentic with the M1911, but most people will probably take the Mark 6 revolver, as that's a bit of a no-brainer. Interestingly, Drunksy did tease on Twitter earlier this week that we might be getting a Magnum or Rex look-alike, I think it's the Magnum, coming soon in Battlefield 5. What they'll call it, I'm not too sure, but it's very interesting to see maybe another sidearm come in that could rival the Mark 6 revolver. That would be really cool. So let me know what you think of the Garand down in the comments below. Is it a weapon you're using a lot? Have you fully kitted it out, got all the specialisations, and how are you running it? probably the same as me, but maybe you're making the grenade launcher work, maybe you're doing something completely different and using it for an aggressive hipfire weapon or something. I'm not sure, but let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.